A few years ago, my family moved into a house that was over 100 years old. It sat alone on top of a hill, isolated outside of town, surrounded by dense bushland. No neighbors, no road noise, just trees, wind, and silence. The place already felt off before we even finished moving in. We later found out we were the first people to live there in almost 8 years. At first, we ignored the small things, quiet taps at night, like fingernails on wood, soft footsteps, the occasional bang. Nothing loud enough to panic over, but enough to make you stop and listen. We blamed the house settling, animals outside, or just our imagination. Then, it got harder to ignore. We started hearing voices. Sometimes it sounded like muffled talking from another room. Other times, it was clear whispers right near our ears. There were moments where more than one person heard it, and other times only one of us would hear it. We would see figures at the edge of our vision, shadows moving where nothing should have been. I kept convincing myself it was tricks of light or my mind playing games. We would also occasionally hear growling. It was not common, but it happened enough to stick in our minds. We had 4 mini fox terriers, and at first we assumed it must have been them. But their growl is quite high-pitched, and what we were hearing sounded much deeper. It still very well could have been the dogs, but it never quite matched what we were used to hearing from them. Until I caught something on camera. I was filming a video in my room one afternoon, just talking about my collection of stuff. When I rewatched the video later, you can see a dark, human-shaped figure walk past the window behind me and disappear. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe one of my family members walked past outside, but it was raining at the time, and no one had any reason to be out there. It could have been someone, but it did not feel likely. Around the same time, I started getting scratched. We did have cats, but these scratches were spaced way too far apart to be from claws, wider than any cat could physically do. They would appear when the cats had not even been inside. The layout of the house made things even stranger. There was a hallway that connected the kitchen to the garage. From the lounge room where we would sit late at night, you could see straight into that hallway. A friend of mine, who was a full skeptic, stayed over a few nights. While we were watching TV, both of us, at the exact same time, would see and hear what looked like a figure walking through that hallway toward the garage. It was not a quick shadow. It looked like something walking past. This did not just happen once. It felt like something we would see every so often over the years, almost like it was repeating on some kind of loop. The strangest part of the house was where I slept. There was a side section built underneath the house. It was technically connected, but you could not access it from inside. You had to go outside, down a small path, and enter underneath. That is where my room was, and I slept down there alone. A lot of nights I would hear footsteps above me, faint tapping in the walls, and whispers in the dark. I told myself it was my family moving around upstairs, but the layout did not make sense for where the sounds were coming from. Near that area under the house was where the water tank pumps were, the section that fed water into the house. There was also a door there that gave access to the underneath of the house. On the day we were moving out, we went in there to check things and found a pentagram drawn on the ground with candles placed around it. The candles looked extremely old and used, like they had been burned before and left there for a very long time. None of us had ever seen it before. That was not the only strange thing on the property. The land around the house was dense bush and rocky terrain, so we never really explored it much. One day, my friend and I decided to walk further out, maybe 250 meters from the house. We came across a strange area with massive boulders and a few cactuses growing around them. In between the rocks were baby dolls and what looked like very old newspaper. The paper was so aged it was unreadable. We went back and told my pop, and he came out with us to look. We ended up calling the police because we were genuinely worried something bad had happened out there. They investigated, but nothing ever came of it.
We were told it was probably left behind by a previous owner. Even my grandparents, who were hardcore skeptics, could not explain what was happening in that house. They never said it was paranormal, but they admitted there was something there they could not rationalize. What made it feel worse was my younger brother. His personality changed completely after we moved there. He went from calm to constantly angry and on edge. He would say he felt like something was touching him, hitting him, scratching him. Even years after moving out, he still says he feels like something is with him. While living there, we also lost 6 pets. Before and after that house, we never had animals pass away like that. It only happened there. We have now lived in a brand new house for years. We were the first owners. Nothing strange has happened since. No noises, no shadows, no pets passing away. Just normal, peaceful life. I'm not saying this was 100% something paranormal. Some of it definitely could have been family members, animals, or our minds trying to make sense of things. But there were also parts of this that none of us, including the skeptics in my family, could genuinely explain. This all happened almost 9 years ago, and I'm currently digging through old photos and videos to see what I can find. I'll leave an update as soon as I can.